Hi guys, it's been 2 weeks since my last video, and as you can see, the last time we looked at Bitcoin, we were trading at around $92,500 right before the FOMC meeting. And unfortunately, since then, the price action has not been able to hold the $90,000 range. As you can see, we've broken down, and I'd count this as a failed retest of the 50-day TMA from the underside, and it looks like we could be setting up for another leg down. But there are quite a few signals that suggest that the low is in, or at least nearly in. So without further ado, let's go. Monthly time frame, you can see the BX trender is still dark red. So ideally, in the next 7 days, something good happens to Bitcoin, and I think we would get a light red close if we can see price action move above $90,500. And better yet, if we can get a close closer to $94,000 or $95,000, that would be really, really awesome. But considering we are going through a Christmas holiday period, I'm not too optimistic on that. And if you go and have a watch of a couple of Jason and Michael's latest videos, they talk a bit about the 3 red months signal and how that usually leads to a reversal the following month. So even if we don't close this month great, January will hopefully be great. And there's also a lot of time analysis that they share as well. So looking over at the weekly time frame, you can see last week we finally got the light red close on the weekly BX trender, which we haven't seen since the all-time high this week right here. And the time before that was when we were bouncing out of the 107k low back in September. So if we can close this week and ideally next week as well with a light red, even if price doesn't move anywhere, provided that it's just able to hold here or ideally grind slightly higher, that would be a really great sign. Now, as I'm speaking, Bitcoin looks like it wants to break $87,000, which would not be ideal because we're very close to potentially shifting dark red again on the weekly BX trender. Now, having a look at the daily time frame, you can see we have rejected from the underside of the 50-day TMA, which the last time happened was the 13th of October and the 27th of October, and we all know what happened after that. We had a massive, massive collapse. So it is not ideal to see this happen. However, on the plus side, we have been down underneath the 50-day TMA for quite a while, and usually when you are underneath the TMA for quite a while and you get a rejection, rather than a massive, massive cascading sell-off, it usually just means some more consolidation is required, like we saw here on the 24th of March, 2nd of April, and then the 15th of April. So I am quite optimistic that even if we do take out that $80,000 low, we probably won't go much lower. And ideally, we just don't take it out at all, and we just chop sideways a bit more, maybe make 1 or 2 more failed attempts to get above the 50-day TMA, and finally, once we get above that and get some closes and higher lows, that would be wonderful. Now, quick look at the stochastic RSI. You can see we are around the neutral territory, which is really nice. We're not in that overbought territory and having bearish divergences. So the fact that we don't have any bearish divergences and we're not overbought means that price could very well just chop sideways for a bit longer before we see that breakout to the upside, hopefully. Same as the daily BX trender. You can see we're still holding in the green, and hopefully after a few days of light green, we can see some hopefully after a couple of days of dark green, we can see some light green, which should hopefully get us above this 50-day TMA as well. What we don't want is to be seeing dark red, especially because our daily swing has turned down and we've rejected off of resistance. That would mean if we do get some dark red closes, that would mean that we could potentially take out some lows here, which would not be great for the bulls. Now, over on the 4-hour chart, I've been watching this resistance line very closely to kind of gauge strength and weakness and see if we can see if this is a accumulation or distribution schematic based on Wyckoff. Now, turning my volume back on, you can see one thing I really don't like about this schematic is how much volume we're getting on a lot of the down bars. You can see, especially in the last few days, our down bars seem to have our red bars, not down bars, sorry. Red bars and some red and down bars are getting a lot more volume than the green bars. And you can see here on our green bars, we get these massive wicks up, but we just weren't able to close above this trend line here. So this diagonal trend line, nor this horizontal trend line on many attempts until around here. So that's typically a sign of distribution when you get failed moves up, and then coupled with a lot of selling volume. Now, on the plus side, you can see back here, we had some really nice buying volume coming out of that $80,000 major low, as well as through some of the ranges here. Our buying volume was roughly equal to, if not greater than, the selling volume. It just seems to be in the last 2 weeks, the sellers look like they've taken control for the most part and starting to lose this $88,000 line in the last day or two is not a great sign in my opinion. But obviously we've still got this diagonal trend line here, which is absolutely amazing. I'll just extend it a little bit. There we go. So provided that price action holds above roughly, the $83,000, $84,000 level, I would still be looking for a potential accumulation schematic where we could be setting up a spring on the daily time frame or something. If we get a bar like this where we get a big flush out with a really strong close, that could be what we need to, flush out some leverage and set us up for a proper reversal. Now, the 1 hour time frame doesn't really show us anything that the 4 hour time frame doesn't, along with the 15-minute time frame, which is more of what I'm just using to scalp the market. Nothing that is worth talking about on YouTube. Heading over to the USDT dominance, you can see we are getting higher lows on the daily BX trender, which is not great for crypto prices. This, coupled with the stochastic RSI turning bullish, where we got the blue line, the shorter time frame EMA crossing over the top of the orange line, shows momentum, which is not something you want to see on the USDT dominance if you want higher prices for crypto. And on the flip side, we are still inside this channel here, and we could potentially, if we don't see a turnaround very quickly, see some sort of fourth time breakout right here of around 6.5%, which, about 6.51%. And if we do see that, it would not be great for crypto, because a fourth time breakout on USDT dominance would typically mean a genuine move up to potentially 7%, which would absolutely crash crypto prices. Now, having a look at altcoins, you can see we've just got dark red after dark red on the weekly BX trender. Ethereum, we've tried to poke our head above the 50% level and the daily 50 TMA, and we haven't been able to get any sustainable price action. We did get 2 weekly higher low closes on the weekly BX trender, but we've been slapped back down so far this week. And you can see DOT, just this downtrend, unable to get above the 50-day TMA no matter how many tests we tried to do. Same story with ADA, and C, CRO, SUI, Mantle. We had this pretty strong move which got me optimistic of a potential relief rally on Bitcoin if that was led by strong altcoins, but unfortunately that is just not what we have seen. Now you can see the USD breaking down against the Australian dollar, where not really surprised because the DXY is also breaking down. So if you want to have a look at how the USD is going against your currency, feel free to do that. But overall, it's just really surprising to see the USD breaking down, the S&P 500 almost pushing into another all-time high. A lot of the large tech stocks, really close to their all-time highs, but Bitcoin is just unable to show any strength in the last 2 weeks. So for now, if you have a higher time frame short position, if I had a higher time frame short position that I opened, 110, 120, 115K, I would still be holding that. And on the shorter term time frames, I am just scalping to the long side, but the overall trend is still down. And until we start seeing some daily, weekly, or monthly reversal signs, we just got to go with the trend. So thank you all for watching, and that's all for today. Peace out.